What is up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Too Pop to Handle. I am your host, Andrew Nucatola, your pop culture best friend, and as always, I hope you guys are having a fabulous week. This is a huge week for the podcast. I feel like a episode and a week that we have all been waiting for collectively together. If you can't tell by the title, I have officially seen the Wicked movie. And if you've been listening for any amount of time to this podcast, I talked about this movie, episode 1, last October. I've talked about it sporadically throughout the last year and change. Like, I have been talking about this movie as if I am starring in it, as if I directed it. Like, I have been riding and dying for this goddamn movie. And I can officially say that it has changed my life. It was as incredible as expected, but we are going to do an entire Wicked review later on in the show, so stick around for that. If anybody is new here and is joining us just for my thoughts on the Wicked movie, hello, welcome. We have a little bit before we're going to get into that. If you are interested in just skipping ahead to the Wicked review, I will have timestamps down below. I won't be offended, but I would also love it if you stuck around and listened to our pop culture rapid fire moments, some music release information. Like, we will get to Wicked eventually, but again, if you are new here, we are not jumping right into it just yet. You know, we do have a run of show to tend to before that. But that being said, I hope everybody is having a fabulous week. I hope everybody is having a fabulous weekend. We're in that time where it's like crunch time for the holidays, where it's just like every weekend is something. There's a Friendsgiving, there's a Christmas party, there's a holiday event, there's this. Like, it's literally nonstop, I feel like. And it's not a bad thing. You know, people always say, like, I'm so busy, and it has a negative connotation. It's not necessarily a bad thing to be busy, but it is fucking exhausting. And I think that is just like, it's so validating to remember, like, it's good to be busy, but it's also okay to, like, it's okay to be tired. There's always such like a, ugh, I'm tired. People have like a negative mindset around it and like being exhausted. But it's like, if you're doing fun things, you should be tired. Like, if you were out and about with your friends and you were not tired after because you didn't have fun and you didn't, exert your energy into having the time of your life at whatever event you were at, did you really live it to the fullest potential? You know what I mean? Like, it's definitely, that busy time of year. We were all busy. We were all feeling it, but I hope everybody is enjoying it. I had such a two pop to handle moment over the weekend, and I could not even wait to get on and chat with you guys. You guys know Lindsay Lohan is my it girl of all it girls. I adore her. I kiss the ground she walks on. She is mother. She is everything to me. But my two friends, Carolyn and Alyssa, they did have extra tickets to the taping, so I got to go be in the audience. It was actually my first time going to a Jimmy Fallon taping, which was cool to see because I feel like it's like, as a New Yorker, that's something you should do and you should experience. It's like, a cornerstone of New York culture. And I just have to say, I love living in a world where Lindsay Lohan is booked, busy, and thriving. It is what she deserves. And I could not be happier to see her just like living her best life and just like thriving through all of these movie promos. This is actually her third and final movie in her Netflix deal. So she's been doing so much press for these movies. We had, what was it? Falling for Christmas, the first one with Cord Overstreet. Then we had Irish Wish, which came out earlier this year. And now this one, Our Little Secret being the third one. She is wrapping up that Netflix deal, but she has such a big year ahead with Freakier Friday. I'm sure she's going to have other projects under her belt. So this is the end of the Netflix era for Lindsay, but I feel like she's on to bigger and better things. And I am so excited to see what's next. I mean, knowing me and knowing that Freakier Friday is next, you guys know that I am like over the moon excited for Freakier Friday. And it appears that everybody else is also as excited, because when I tell you, Jimmy Fallon mentioned Freakier Friday, and the roar of applause that came from the audience in Studio 6B was insane. Even Lindsay was like, I was not expecting that reaction. Like, it was so loud. It was honestly the loudest applause of the entire show. And it was just so infectious and so cool to see that people are so excited for this sequel, because it has been so long in the making. And like, Freaky Friday is one of my favorite movies ever, so I'm excited, obviously, but to see that the general public is so excited for this sequel, it just makes me so happy, because Lindsay went through such a phase where, she wasn't painted in the best light in the public eye. So to see everybody just like cheering for her and so excited for her comeback and like to be back on top, it is what she deserves. It is what we like to see. And I'll never get tired of it. You guys know that. I will always be here for any type of Lindsay Lohan content. That being said, before we hop into our pop culture moments from the week that were just too pop to handle, I have two housekeeping things for you guys. Exciting things for you and for me. First things first, if you do not follow me on social media, you did not see that I got interviewed by Bold Journey magazine. I actually did the interview a few weeks ago. I want to say it was like end of October. It finally went live today, and I am so excited. It was so much fun. They reached out to me. They wanted me to talk to them about the podcast and like how I got started, talk about my work ethic and the things that I've learned over the year of podcasting. So it was really, really fun to chat with them. And they actually emailed me 2 days, I want to say. They emailed me on October 23rd, I'm pretty sure, or like the week before that. They emailed me like the week of our 1 year anniversary. So it was just like a full circle serendipitous moment. So that is housekeeping item number one. And then housekeeping item number two is some exciting news if you are a Spotify listener or a Spotify viewer, I guess now. Spotify is rolling out some cool new features on the back end of their podcasting hosting site, which is where I host. And now, if anybody doesn't know, I upload the podcast as a video every single week. So you can watch it if you want on YouTube. But now I'm going to be uploading the video to Spotify as well. So nothing really changes for anybody, because if you close out of the Spotify app, you can still just listen to the audio and you don't have to watch it. But if anybody is interested in, watching the visual of it, whatever it may be, if you are a YouTube viewer and you prefer to watch, but you would like to watch it on the Spotify app, you can switch over there now. So yeah, just a cool little update there. Again, nothing's changing. The upload time might change a bit. I might not be a midnight release anymore. I might switch that just for like processing things. But again, that's on my end. And also on the topic of Spotify, you can now leave comments on the episode. So instead of just being able to leave a review or a rating actually on Spotify, you can now comment. So you can, if there's a topic that you liked and you want to give your input, comment on the episode. I've always replied to every single comment. I would love to chat with you guys. I'm always so interested in hearing what you guys think about the episodes or what you guys thought about my takes. If, maybe you agree, you disagree, or if there's an album or something that you want me to listen to, I would always love any type of feedback or just like, build that little community with me. So leave a comment on the episode. And also, shameless plug, if you're listening to us as a Spotify podcast or on Apple Podcasts or really anywhere, leave me a 5-star rating. Give me, a review. Let me know what you're thinking, because that's really the best way to support the show. And, if you like what you're listening to or like what you're watching, if you are, taking advantage of these new features, why not give me a little bit of love and help me out? But that being said, that is all of my housekeeping. That is my yapping for the intro. Let's get into the show and let's hop into our moments from the week that were just too pop to handle, some pop culture rapid fire, kicking it off with one of 2024's biggest it girls, Miss Charli XCX. Just when you guys thought Brat Summer was over, this bitch will not die, and I am living for every single second of it. Between taking over Times Square last night and hosting and being the musical guest on SNL, Charli XCX is having her moment, and I am living for it. Charli became the 44th person to join the Double Duty SNL Club, and they don't just let anybody in, to do double duty. You really have to work for it and be worthy of it, and I think after the year that Charli's had, it is absolutely deserved. I thought the episode was fabulous. I thought it was so good. It's her third time appearing on SNL. The first two times she was as a musical guest, so this is her first time hosting, but her third time as a musical guest, and I thought she knocked it out of the park. I absolutely loved it. She's so good at just like leaning into her true authentic self, which really is like what Brat's all about. It's just like doing your own thing, not really caring what anybody thinks, and just like hoping for the best. And I think this episode was such a good reflection of like what message she's trying to bring with Brat. We're going to go through the episode. We're not going to go through every single skit because like I said, she did do double duty. So she was in every single skit. So it'd be a lot to go through all of them. But I am going to go through my favorites. We'll talk about the monologue, the performances. So let's take her from the top. In her monologue, I thought this was perfectly done. Like I said, it really gave us a look into who Charli is and like what her persona is all about. She, she played a little bit about her career and talked about how, if it's the first time you're hearing from me, it's okay if you're straight. But she, she's just really doubling down and like in on the joke about the fact that like the girls and the gays have really been writing for her for 10 plus years, and now everyone's finally coming around to it. And she's like, if you haven't heard of me before this year, I guess you're straight. And like, it's kind of true. But I thought the monologue was just so funny. The SNL monologue is such it's such like a make or break moment of an episode because you get to get an idea of like how the host is going into it and like where their mind's at when they're doing this episode. And I think Charli, like I said, knocked it out of the park. I loved her little play on like party culture and how she's really, like I said, leaning into just like being her true self and like not really giving a fuck of his like negative backlash. She said, "I'm not used to being out this early on a Saturday night." Obviously, it's no denying Charli is pretty much like the queen of just partying and raving and being out and about and doing her thing. And I think I've said this a while ago on an episode, but it's so cool to see that party culture is kind of back. Because for so long, especially when you, speaking of Lindsay Lohan, when you think back to like early 2000s and like 2007 era when like Britney was going through it, Lindsay was going through it, Paris was out and about with them, like they were out partying, but it was in such a negative light. Like people were really trying to tear them down for just like going out, having fun, doing their thing. Of course, they were a little more troubled than Charli appears to be while she's out partying, but like there was such a different narrative and light around it back then. So seeing Charli just like lean into it and like fully own it and the general public kind of like accepting it and not tearing her down like they did with women in the past. We love to see it. Like good job, everybody. We're growing, we're letting loose a little bit. We are not judging somebody because they want to be out till 6 a.m. and maybe they want to do a drug or two. Who cares? It's their life, not ours. Moving on into the skits of the night. I'm only going to talk about 4 of them. Like I said, she was in every single one, so I'll be here forever. But we have to kick it off with the Baby Moon skit, which was the continuation of Ariana Grande's skit with Domingo. Incredible. The SNL writers this season are working overtime and just like, I don't know what they are doing differently this season, but they are killing it. And I feel like this might be the fastest turnaround for a follow-up skit in SNL history. Like they definitely have done, the continuation of skits over seasons before, but I feel like it's never within the same season. I mean, the Ariana Grande sketch was like, it was October, so it was less than a month ago, and they're already doing a follow-up with these characters, and it's just so smart because of how viral Ariana's skit went. There was so much discourse online over whether or not they ruined the skit and like killed it by having Charli do it so quick after Ariana. I personally think it was perfectly done. They're seizing the moment. Like it was such a major viral moment, and even like to this day, everybody is still singing the Ariana skit. So the fact that they were able to jump on it and like capitalize on it so quick, it was so smart. To me, it's a no-brainer. I don't think it killed the Ariana sketch. I don't think it took away from it. I think it was like a perfect way to just like get in there, really like get in on the moment. And whichever SNL writer picked up on the fact that Domingo and Hot to Go had the exact same amount of letters and could be sung to the same rhythm, I hope they get promoted to like head writer in charge because that was incredible. I loved it. Moving on to the next skit we're going to chat about was the Wicked audition. So obviously I had to talk about the skit because pretty much the entire theme of this episode is the Wicked movie and the fact that they jumped in on this. And there are so many layers to it. I mean, let alone Bowen being in the Wicked movie and obviously a regular cast member on SNL, tying in all of the characters they've done from the past with JoJo Siwa. I mean, having Marcello come out as Bad Bunny, hilarious. Charli as Adele, hilarious. Just like playing into, they really did such a good job at like playing into who these characters could play and who they could portray. I mean, having Bowen as Charli and Charli as Troy, so good. I will say, I talked about this when Charli got announced for it, and it was actually in my newsletter, now that I'm remembering it, not in the episode, but I was like, I really, really, really hope that they do a talk show skit with Bowen as Charli and Charli as, whether it's like herself or something, and just like played into it. They didn't do it. It's fine, but I am so glad to see that they did have Bowen cosplay as Charli while Charli was on it, because it would be such a missed opportunity if they didn't. I thought the skit was hilarious. I thought it was so much fun. Also to note, this is the 4th time that they've had somebody dress up as Troye Sivan on SNL, and it is so funny the way that Troy changes his Instagram profile picture to whoever the latest person is. It is so funny. I'm obsessed with it. I just love seeing people. I feel like for so long, celebrities were trying to be so serious and so like not necessarily professional, for lack of a better word, but they were so like afraid to have fun and so afraid to like play into the memes and play into internet culture. So when I see a celebrity who has had such a moment this year, such as Troye Sivan, play into the meme culture and the internet culture, and he started his career on the internet. He was a YouTuber before anything. So I love that he's so in on the joke. I love that it's now Charli dressed up as him. Obviously, they just had this huge moment with Sweat. It was just so good. I fucking loved this skit. And then the third skit we're going to talk about is the Thanksgiving Baking Championship. As most gay men who grew up in the early 2000s were, I was raised on the Food Network. I could not get enough of Cake Wars growing up. So seeing Charli, embody this Cake Wars-esque skit, it just really hit home for me. And I'm sure with many other gay men, it rang true for them as well. And then the final skit that we're going to chat about is the It Girl Thanksgiving special. This was so perfectly done. I thought every single character who played one of the It Girls, they nailed it. They did such a good job at stepping into these roles. And sometimes when they do these impersonations and when they do too much, it can be overkill, but this was perfect. I mean, we had Marc Jacobs, Julia Fox, Naomi Campbell, Posh Spice, Rachel Sennott, the Olsen twins, Cher, La Roche. Like, they really had all of the It Girls in there, except for Lindsay Lohan. But you know what? Not many people can impersonate Lindsay Lohan, so I'll give it to them. But I thought this was perfect. And then the little, when they strut down the table, it was very 360-esque. It was just so on the nose and so perfect to do with Charli there. I loved it. It was perfect. The writers this season are on a different level, and I cannot get enough. And then wrapping up Charli's SNL episode, we had the performances, obviously. So she did 360 and she did Sympathy is a Knife. There is nobody else on the planet better to introduce Charli XCX performing 360 on SNL than Julia Fox, and I am so happy that they took advantage of that moment. I was gagged when I saw Julia up there. I mean, I'm everywhere, I'm so Julia. As the song goes. It was great. The performance was incredible. I loved it. Brat Green is going, that shade of green, nobody is ever going to look at it again and think of anything but Charli XCX. And as they should, it is such a moment. And there's such a perfectly encapsulating, feeling knowing that Charli released the Brat album cover, just being it's not going to be the biggest deal in the world. So let's just not put a lot of budget into the cover and we'll just make it green, write the word Brat on it and go on with it. And now it's become such a phenomenon. And that is the type of happy accident I love to see. And again, it just fully encapsulates what Brat is and how Charli's attitude had really just she stuck to her guns and stayed so true to herself that it's just gotten her to this point. And I think that's why people are so drawn to her, because it's this I don't give a fuck attitude, but also it works because you don't want it to work almost. Does that make sense? She's not putting, she's putting the effort in, don't get me wrong, but she truly went into this era just being I'm going to write what I want, sing how I want, do what I want, not put that much into the album cover and let's see what happens. And look where we are now. She's taking over Times Square. It's fucking insane. And then the second performance was Sympathy is a Knife. Bowen introduced her, which I just love. Bowen and Matt had her on Las Culturitas before Brat was even out. And so for him to be on this ride with her since before the album came out, and I'm obviously further than that before, like I said, the gays were the ones who were really keeping Charli afloat before Brat. So see him have Charli on the podcast before the album came out, and now to be introducing her as a performer on SNL, it's such a full circle moment for him, and I loved to see it. I thought both of the performances were great. I was surprised that she did Sympathy is a Knife. I wasn't mad, but I definitely was that was interesting. I did not expect that one. I would have thought maybe Von Dutch, guess, but I guess when you do a second song on SNL, you want it to be one that maybe people aren't as familiar with to kind of breathe the second life into it. So I loved it. It was fantastic. And then, like I said, she took over Times Square last night. I wasn't there. I was at the Wicked movie. I was literally 2 blocks away. So when I saw that Charli was going to be in Times Square at the exact same time I was seeing the Wicked movie in Times Square, I was this is the universe laughing in my face, but it was a 15-minute performance. I was I'm not missing the Wicked movie to hear 4 songs. I'll be all right. But I love to see this era of Charli XCX just quite literally taking over the world. It is the world that I want to live in, and I love it. Another world that I want to live in is one where Sabrina Carpenter is just killing the game, and it appears that she is not going to stop killing the game anytime soon. So moving on to our next topic, Sabrina Carpenter wrapped up the Short and Sweet tour over the weekend in California. She had 1 show at the Crypto Arena and then 2 shows at the Forum. And let me tell you, everybody and their mother was at these shows. John Mayer and Katy Perry, which that is a whole story in and of itself. We're not going to get too much into it, but seeing the two of them chit-chatting and like conversing after obviously they've been broken up for like almost 10 years now, and Jon is still putting out music about Katy Perry, like knowing the lore behind that and seeing the two of them chit-chatting, and like at one point they were like holding hands and talking. I was like, what the fuck is going on? But it is what it is. We also had Cara Delevingne there, Madeline Pesh, Sarah Michelle Gellar, Blue Ivy was there. Blue Ivy has been out on the town lately, living her best life, and I love to see it. She was at the Wicked premiere in LA. She's at Sabrina Carpenter over the weekend. I love to see a world in which Blue Ivy thrives, and that is what we're living at. Kendall Jenner was also at the show. Hailey Bieber was at the show. Like, everybody was out for these shows, and Sabrina gave them a performance every single night, kicking it off with a surprise guest appearance from no other than Christina Aguilera. I mean, Sabrina has been so vocal about how much Christina Aguilera has meant to her throughout her entire life, not even just her music career. So having her so involved in this come up this year has got to be like the craziest thing for Sabrina. I mean, Sabrina was on the 25th anniversary edition of her debut album. Christina wrote about her for the Time 100 list. Like, now she's coming out and performing with her at her closing weekend in LA. Like, it has got to be such a surreal moment for Sabrina, and I am so happy to see that she's just like getting every single thing that she deserves. So she joined her on stage. They did 2 songs together. What like a powerhouse set of vocals on the two of them to like be performing together. Incredible. And then she had jokes up her sleeve this weekend, and I am obsessed. So if you don't know, every single night before she performs Juno, she arrests somebody for being too sexy or too hot, and just plays into like the fuzzy pink handcuffs. She's so good at a bit, and she sticks to it. And this weekend, she pulled out all the stops. First, she arrested Rachel Sennott, which just like I said, it girl of the moment, obsessed with that. The second night, she arrested Domingo, which Marcelo Hernandez from SNL, just hilarious. He was dressed up as Domingo, which the fact that he did a Domingo sketch on Saturday and then was arrested by her by Sunday in LA, it was so funny. And of course, like tying in the espresso from the first skit of it all, whoever on her team, whether it was her or one of her, producers, whoever it was who thought to have him be the one who was arrested, genius. They are milking every single second of this Domingo virality, as they should. And then the final night, last night, they had Jack Antonoff go to get arrested, and then his wife Margaret Qualley came in and stole the show from him. So they were just really like on top of their game with the guests this weekend, not only people who attended, but also who were getting arrested by Sabrina. So I loved it. What a way to end this tour. It was such an incredible tour for her, and really such like a monumental stamp in her career. And that leads me into the next point that I'm going to say. Why are all these parents suddenly coming out and saying, oh my God, it was so inappropriate for Sabrina Carpenter to act like that at her tour? It is Sabrina Carpenter's tour. Why are you not researching the artist before you buy your daughter tickets to this show and deciding whether it's appropriate or not? It is not Sabrina Carpenter's job to determine what is appropriate for your child to see when she's performing on stage, performing her songs that are very sex forward, by the way. And it's not like this album is a turn for Sabrina. Like, even Emails I Can't Send, she had very, sexually forward innuendos on that album, which I love that she's so sex positive. So like, I don't understand where this confusion came from. It's the same thing that happened with like Sam Smith a few years ago. People were like, I'm bringing my kid to see this and he's doing demonic things on stage. I'm like, you didn't buy a ticket to Sesame Street Live. You bought a ticket to see Sabrina Carpenter. This is your problem. Maybe you need to do a little more research and not expect, these pop stars to just like parent your child for you. I don't know. I'll never understand parents complaining about pop stars performing their music as it's written, because you could have just done like, listen to the album's like 38 minutes long. You have 38 minutes to listen to this album and like hear what she's saying. That's on you, Linda. And then some quick final Sabrina news. Nothing really too crazy to go into, but we did find out that she's going to have some special guests on the Nonsense Christmas special that's coming out on Netflix on December 6th. And the lineup is heavy. Musical guests alone, we have Chappell Roan, Tyla, Shania Twain, and Kali Uchis, which that lineup is crazy. Sabrina and Chappell performing together is going to change my life. I cannot wait. And then just looking at a few of the appearances, we're going to have Quinta Brunson, who you guys know I'm obsessed with. I love her. She is my queen. She could do no wrong. We also have Cara Delevingne, who I'm sure that's going to be so fun to play into with her. And then we also have Megan Stalter, who I love to see the fact that Megan Stalter is having her moment. She is so hilarious. And the fact that like they wrote that part for her in Hacks, and that character is so so integral to the show and just like adds such a fun element. And now she's doing this. I feel like she has such a big year coming up for her, and I cannot wait to see her thrive. So I cannot wait for a Nonsense Christmas. We are so close to it. It's going to be incredible. Like I said, it's going to be on Netflix December 6th. And while we're on the topic of Netflix, we have some big news from Netflix. And that is the fact that Beyoncé will be performing at the Ravens Texans halftime show on Christmas Day, which leads me to say, who knew that they played football on Christmas? Like, I thought that was a Thanksgiving thing, but Beyonce will be there. I will be tuned in. Call me Sporty Spice. I am so excited for this. Oh my God, this is Beyonce's first televised performance in 4 years. The last time she did a televised performance was at the Grammys when she opened it in 2020, and she was in that like tennis court green. I love that performance. It was incredible. So it's been a minute since we've had a performance for her on TV, and whenever she does anything on a public stage, she always gives it her all, but like when it's on a public stage, think about like all of her VMA performances, think about her BET performances, like she will always turn a televised performance out because she's fucking Beyonce and she does nothing short of 500%. So I am so excited. But I have a very important message for Netflix, and I want to make this loud and clear. Get your live stream servers figured out now, because if I have to miss a second of Beyonce's halftime performance on Christmas Day, it is going to be a problem. Leave it at that. Figure it out, because I swear to God, if it buffers once, the membership is canceled. I am done. I'm out. Do not ruin Christmas Day for the girls and the gays, all right? You've been warned. That being said, things like this are what makes being a Beyonce stan so exciting. You truly never know what this woman has up her sleeve, and this came out of such left field. I could not have predicted a Cowboy Carter live performance before the tour. If I could have put money on it. She did nothing for Renaissance for live television. Like, she has not done something like this since before she started releasing these albums in the trilogy, and I cannot wait to see what is in store. I also think it is very smart for her to do this in December when, Grammy voting is kind of coming to a close, and it's gonna be one of those like final punches to really get her into their minds and really make them think like, okay, who is winning album of the year? Who is winning, best collab, best this, like all of the 11 Grammys that Beyonce's nominated for. Like, this is such a good way to really just like slide into their minds at the last minute and just like plant that seed and be like, don't fucking forget, like, do not forget that I am Beyonce and I am the most nominated artist at the Grammys this year. Don't play with her, don't play with me, don't play with the rest of the Beehive. Let's get it right this year, Grammys. But I'm so excited for this. Netflix did put out a press release over the weekend and said that there will be special performances and special guests from the artists featured on the Cowboy Carter album. Obviously, my mind immediately goes to Miley, and I cannot think of a better Christmas gift than having a two most wanted live performance with Beyonce and Miley. Like, if I get that live performance on Christmas Day, I will never ask for anything again in my life. Time will tell. We will see what happens. But like, you guys know I'll need a pulse check. Like, I will be counting on you guys to do a wellness check on me on Christmas Day, because if Miley steps foot on that stage, it is over for me. And I'm just going to leave it at that. I cannot wait for this. It's going to be incredible. I literally cannot think of a better way to spend Christmas Day. It's going to be amazing. I cannot wait. And remember, Netflix, don't ruin this for us. Get your live streams in order. And that wraps up our pop culture moments from the week that were just too pop to handle. I didn't want to do too many this week because I really just want to get into the Wicked movie, and we are so close. We just have 2 more things to talk about, and that is our Drew releases. So our new music releases from last week and our new music coming up this week. We had 2 last week and we have 2 coming up this week. Talking about last week first, we had Flow. We're releasing Access All Areas, their new album. It is incredible. It is so good. I have been talking about and like campaigning for Flow, I feel like, for so long on this podcast, and even before I started it. I just love them. I've seen them live a few times. Every single they put out, every EP they put out, they just don't make bad music. And all of this negative discourse about them on Twitter right now, You guys, you're just looking for likes. You're engagement farming. They have never released a bad song in their life. And if you think otherwise, you are wrong. There's no opinion in this. They are incredible. They have such a good, cohesive sound to them. They work and sound so well together. I cannot get enough of them. Just to name a few of my favorites on this album, I love Soft. Soft is incredible. Shoulda, Coulda, Woulda, so good. I Would Hate to Be My Ex, and I'm Just a Girl. Those are my favorites from the past few days that I've been listening. They also released like a bonus edition, and it has a track with Chloe and Halle on it, which you guys know I adore Chloe and Halle, and anytime the two of them jump on a track together, whether it's just the two of them or they're featured together, I'm going to eat it up, and the track is so good. So I am loving this release from Flo. They're actually also going on tour next year, so I signed up for pre-sale. I will be in attendance. I cannot wait. This album is incredible. If you're looking for like an R&B girl group vibe, think like Destiny's Child, 3LW, very much that vibe. Flo is up your alley. I cannot stress how incredible this album is enough. And then the next track that we had was Lil Nas X releasing his comeback single, Light Again. I'm really liking it. Is it my favorite song I've ever heard? No, but I do really like it. And I think it's really setting up a really good and fun, base for whatever era we have ahead of us with him. Yeah, I'm really into it. I'm really liking it. I don't want to say I'm like completely sold and like obsessed with the era just yet, because again, it's only one single and it isn't the craziest thing that I've ever heard, but I do really like it. And he's actually, speaking of releases coming out next week, he's releasing the second single already. So he is jumping into this era and just like hitting the ground running. Second single, it is slipping my mind. I am such a bad podcast host. I did not put it in my notes, but I apologize. It's been a busy few days. So we do get a second single from him on this Friday. So he really is just like hitting the ground running for this Dream Boy era, which I'm into. Like, I love when an artist doesn't drag out an era and they just kind of like jump into it, do what they gotta do, and just like feed the girls, feed the gays, give us what we want. So very excited for this new era, this new album, whatever we have from him. And we'll chat about the next single next week. And then the obvious one this week, we have the Wicked soundtrack, which perfectly leads us into my Wicked movie recap. You guys, this movie was incredible. It exceeded every single expectation and more. There are no words to describe how amazing this movie was. I want to see it 10 more times already, and thank God I'm seeing it again tomorrow already. I already am seeing it again. So on Wednesday, if you're listening to this on release day, I'm seeing it tonight. We had originally bought the tickets for Wednesday, and then they announced an earlier screening for Monday, and we were like, well, we might as well go twice in the same week, so fuck it. So I will be seeing the movie twice before it's even officially released in theaters, and I have no shame about it, and I'm so excited to see it again so close, because my thoughts are still so fresh that I feel like now when I watch it for a second time so close to it, I'll be able to really like marinate in those thoughts. And if there's anything I notice in the second watch and that I, maybe don't mention in the episode, because I'm going to do a full recap about it now, but I will put it in my newsletter. So if you're not subscribed to my Substack, it's just twopoptohandle.substack.com. I'm going to do a whole recap of the premieres because I've been obsessed with Ariana and Cynthia's fashion, and we'll get into that in a second. So I'm going to do a recap of their fashion at the premieres as a separate post. But if there's anything that I, pick up on after seeing it again tomorrow night or tonight when you're listening to this, I'll include it in this weekend's newsletter. So make sure subscribe there so I can, put that in there. I don't want to make every single week talking about the Wicked movie because I feel like I've been doing it for the past 3 or 4 episodes. And as much as I love it, I don't want to like drown you guys out with it. So I'm going to keep that in the newsletter. And then, we will go forward as our regularly scheduled Mexico City. I talked about those 3 last week. So if you want my takes on what Cynthia and Ariana wore for those, go listen to last week's episode. But we still had New York and London since the last time we spoke. So we're going to dive into it. So New York City was first. It was Asa's ballroom themed. Last week I was saying I really hoped Cynthia would bring out a witch's hat of some sorts for the Asa's ballroom premiere, because that is where she wears the hat for the first time. And it's such a moment in the movie. She did not wear a hat, but she did wear a stunning Christian Dior dress. It was gorgeous. I loved it. Very reminiscent of like a Wicked Witch of the West dress, which is what she wears to the Oz's ballroom. So I will take it. She looked stunning. And then Ariana pulled up in a pink Louis Vuitton dress, looking gorgeous, looking stunning. It was much more party-esque than the other dresses, which is what I was hoping for from her. I really wanted her to lean into like going out and like that party kind of vibe. It was like shimmery, glittery. It was gorgeous. I loved it. They looked great. This event, I didn't realize it was hosted by Vogue and like presented by Anna Wintour. So I think that's why it wasn't open to fans the way other things were. The other premieres, there was like a fan zone. They walked a red carpet, and besides the fact that the MoMA just like doesn't have a space for a red carpet outside of it, logistically, like where it is in New York, I think because it was an exclusive event hosted by Vogue, that's why they weren't able to do so much more of like the fan interactions there, which it is what it is, whatever. And then this week we had the final premiere. Finally, I feel like they have been working literally nonstop for the past month and a half, and I cannot imagine the sleep that they're going to get once all of these press tours are over, because these girls and all the cast, they've been in this city, in that city. They have been Mr. and Mrs. Worldwide. So I cannot wait for their sake for when they can like go home and unplug and relax for a little bit, because it has been a lot. But they headed over to London, and the final premiere was Emerald City theme. Now, this premiere had to be so special to Cynthia, and she said it herself that like being home in London and doing a premiere for this movie, like that is such a special moment for her. So I'm so glad that they ended it there, because it really just makes it all that more special. This one was Emerald City theme. And like I said, I really wanted them to both go in with like true traditional emerald green to really just end it on that traditional Oz, like classic emerald color. They did not, but I am obsessed with what they did for these looks. So Ariana wore a custom silk evening gown with a matching wrap by Ralph Lauren, and then Cynthia wore a Schiaparelli Fall Winter 2024 couture collection dress, and both outfits, Ariana's was very reminiscent of what Kristen Chenoweth wears in the One Short Day scene in the stage musical. I mean, what all the Glindas wear, but you know, when you think Wicked, you think Kristen Chenoweth. So it was yellow, just like what Glinda wears when she arrives at Emerald City for the first time. And then Cynthia's was just so whimsical and like not party dress to say, but like it had this like glittery, disco-y kind of like moment under the skirt. She was wearing this little like, almost like, it was kind of reminiscent of like a bird on her head. Like, I don't know how to explain it, but it had this like fun little detail on the top, like very reminiscent to and something that they would wear in the Emerald City, but still sticking to the black color scheme of the Wicked Witch of the West. They looked gorgeous. What a way to end this press tour. Like they have truly, like I said, been working like horses for the past month and a half, them and the entire cast. So I just, it's crazy to think that like the movie is finally out and like we have seen it. Like we will all have seen it by next week, you know, or have access to be seeing it. And like now we just have to wait till next year for part 2, which I can't even imagine what they're going to do for part 2 after how big they went with part 1, but that will be, you know, we'll save that for another day, because we need to get into this goddamn movie. Who is going to start the petition to make sure that Jon M directs every single movie musical going forward? Because the way that he absolutely nailed it with the Wicked movie is unbelievable. I cannot get over how incredible every single thing about this movie was. The set design, the fact that those sets were actual sets, they were built for this movie. None of it besides the animals were CGI. Emerald City, Shiz, the Munchkin Land, the poppy fields, like every single part of that set was built and was a real life piece of the movie. They could have done so much editing, so much CGI. They could have been standing in front of a green screen. And, you know, we have the technology that we didn't have in 1939 during The Wizard of Oz. We have the technology now to do it without building a full set. And they still went the extra mile and made sure that they built every single piece of that set. And it made all the difference. It was incredible. Even the stylistic choices within the wardrobe and, you know, with the set design, like I said, and the coloring and just all the little details, really just, they thought of every single thing that they could have to make this musical into a movie and not miss a beat. It was magical. It was truly just magical. I can't get over it. Of course, there's a lot of conversation over the fact of whether they needed to do 2 movies or not. And I can confidently say that this needed to be 2 parts because even this first part, obviously, I have not seen part 2 yet. Nobody has. But seeing part 1, there was not a moment in this movie that felt unnecessary or that felt like it wasn't adding to the plot and like really making us feel more comfortable and more in depth and get to know these characters. There was nothing they could have cut out to make the entire show into 1 movie. So I completely understand the decision to turn it into 2. And honestly, the way that it ended with Defying Gravity, it sets it up for such a perfect second part to this movie. And I cannot wait to see how they pick it up. And like, I mean, we know what's to come because obviously Wicked's been out for 21 years, so it's not like there's going to be anything groundbreaking in it, but I just can't wait to see like what they do to bring the second act to life and just like could pick up where they left off. It was incredible. I'm not going to give away too many spoilers because believe it or not, even though there was so much that they teased and released through like trailers or behind the scenes, actually they're releasing a documentary this week of like behind the curtain showing us like filming on set and showing, I'm sure they're going to show a bunch of scenes from the movie and things like that, which to somebody, you know, if we've seen it already, doesn't matter. But if you are afraid of spoilers, they have not given away the best parts of the movie yet. Like, there's so much that is already out there and like has been leaked technically, but let me tell you, the amount of surprises and like just like breathtaking scenes and moments in the movie that you have not even seen yet, despite what they have posted and what they've shared, you are still in for such a treat. I will say my favorite scene was One Short Day when they take the train into Emerald City and then like Wizamania and all of just like the first time we see Emerald City, it was such a monumental moment in the movie. And I cried truly from the overture until the very last note of Defying Gravity. Like, I cried through this movie more than I've ever cried during a movie in my life, but I wept. I cried the hardest during One Short Day, and seeing the Emerald City for the first time as a lifelong Oz fan, it was magical. Like, it was so incredible, and I could not help but just cry. Like, it was happy tears. I was just so overcome with joy. I felt like a Disney adult. I was like, okay, this is what Disney adults must have felt like when they got to go back to Disney after COVID. I had the same feeling seeing the Emerald City and the Wicked movie. So like, I get it, and I take back everything I've ever said about a Disney adult because I get it now. So something I really appreciated about the movie as a whole was the fact that there was no star power to Ariana or Cynthia or the rest of the cast that took me out of the fact that like I was watching a Wicked movie. I was honestly a little nervous going into it that I was gonna have a hard time like not separating Ariana Grande from Glinda and being like, oh, I'm watching Ariana Grande. But the way that every single cast member in this movie took their role so seriously, and you can tell that they really became that character, it just added such an extra special effect to the movie. And like, not that I forgot it was Ariana Grande. I'm a gay man. I'm not gonna ever forget who Ariana Grande is, but like, I wasn't at one moment in the movie was I like, oh, that's the bitch who sings Problem. That's the bitch who sings Seven Rings. Like, it was fully Glinda. She was fully embodied. Cynthia Erivo, like, I wasn't thinking of any of her past project. Like, I didn't think of The Color Purple. Like, I was not thinking of anything but the fact that that is Elphaba. And they just embodied these roles to such a perfect level. It is incredible. If you've seen it already, you know what I'm talking about. And if you haven't seen it yet, please just make sure you see it because words cannot describe how unbelievable this movie was. I cannot wait to see it again for a second time. Like I'm like beaming if you're not watching the video. It was unfucking real. So Ariana Grande, I mean, we all know the bitch can sing, but she sang in this fucking movie. The changes that she made to Popular were incredible. The like stylistic choices that her and whoever on the team decided to like let her have a little bit of creative control with what they did change. It didn't take away from the original song. It didn't take away from anything in the movie. It was Ariana making it her own, and it added a level of characterization to the song that was perfect for the movie. Because when you're watching it on stage and watching it on screen, they're two different experiences. And like, you really, when it's on stage, like it is in person person, there's more that you can do with the character because you can really connect with the audience. When you're doing it in a movie, we're watching it on a flat screen. There's only so much that you can do to really emulate that character and really portray a persona. And the way that Ariana really just took this role and made it her own while still staying so true and paying homage to the original show was flawlessly done. Like, I cannot say enough good things about her vocal performance in this movie. But even more than her performance vocally, we all know Ariana Grande can sing. Her acting in this film was unbelievable. I am gunning for her to get this supporting actress Oscar because her comedic timing, her facial expressions, the way that she was just so, every single line was delivered with such purpose. And whether it was a funny line, whether it was a serious line, whether it was just like her reacting to something, like, it was so perfectly done and so well thought out. And I am fully on board with her, diving into acting a little bit more, because after seeing how serious she took this role and how much she really cared about every single line that she delivered, she's obviously always going to be a pop star first, but she is a fucking actress. My God, she gave the performance of a lifetime. And anybody who's going to sit on the internet and be like, it should have been Amanda Seyfried, it should have been this person, it should have been somebody else, you are wrong. You are completely wrong, and you cannot convince me otherwise. And anyone who has anything negative to say about this performance, you're lying to yourself. Plain, simple, point blank, you are lying to yourself. She was incredible. She was born for this role. I cannot get enough. More so than Ariana, Cynthia fucking Erivo. Oh my God. You want to talk about somebody being born for a role? You want to talk about somebody taking a role, making it their own, but also emulating such emotion and like adding such a personal level to a performance? My God. So again, obviously we know Cynthia Erivo can sing. We know she has the voice of an angel and like she is so talented. Her rendition of Not That Girl there was not a dry eye in the room. It was so beautiful, and there was so much emotion and like you could tell how she was singing those words and she wanted you to feel it. It was unbelievable. I honestly think my favorite moment, besides like Defying Gravity, of course, but my favorite moment from Cynthia in the entire movie was The Wizard and I, though. The joy and like the excitement and the eagerness in her eyes, you could see that like, though she was Cynthia Erivo playing Elphaba, she really embodied that feeling of Elphaba being like, this is about to be the beginning of a new chapter for me. Like, this is a new life. This is a new story that I'm writing for myself. Like, you could see that like, that hope and that like I said, that eagerness to like start this new chapter. The Wizard and I was a highlight of the movie for me. It's a highlight on the soundtrack for me. I love that song. It's one of my favorites in the shows, but just the way that they did it in the movie. Again, I don't want to give away spoilers, but like, it was flawless. And then just to really tie in the emotion and like really pluck on our heartstrings, the Ozda ballroom scene. Oh my God. I went into this movie knowing that I was going to be weeping the entire time. There was no denying it. I cried the entire time I saw Wicked on Broadway. Like, I knew I was going to go into it and just like be a puddle. Watching Elphaba come down the steps of the Ozda ballroom and her realizing what was happening with everybody judging her and making fun of her for the hat that Glinda gave to her after she just went out of her way to get Madame Morble to, go to Glinda and give her the training wand and tell her like, hey, your roommate, I don't believe in you, but your roommate does, so I'm going to take you on and train you. And then for Elphaba to get there and realize that Glinda set her up to like be the laughingstock at the Ozda's ballroom, the emotion that Cynthia Erivo delivers in that scene was something I have never seen in a movie before. You could feel every single stare, every single laugh, every single side conversation that was happening between everybody in that room. It was incredible. Glinda walking over to her and joining her for the dance, like that moment, seeing Elphaba cry and the tears roll down her face as she's dancing, like it's such a turning point in the show. And I was saying it last week where that really is it's such like the turning point for their friendship because, Glinda gives her the hat and then realizes like, hey, I'm being a bitch and a shitty person. Like, I need to right my wrongs. And that's not something that's not in Glinda's character arc up until this point. We don't know of her to be a truly good person. She just wants to be perceived as one. But this is the first time you really see Glinda do an act of good and like have this turning point with Elphaba, and they portrayed it so beautifully and so incredibly. Like I said, there wasn't a dry eye in this movie theater. We were all crying together. We were all cheering together. I will say, nobody sang. So if you are worried about singing, at least with my experience, nobody sang. Thank God, because I would have had to like rip somebody's voice box out. That being said, we had such an incredible experience seeing this movie for the first time. I can't get over it. And now, of course, there are so many more people in this movie besides Cynthia and Ariana, and I have to give them their flowers, their poppies, if you will, because every person in this movie, I truly believe, was cast so perfectly. Jeff Goldblum as the wizard was such a perfect casting. From the second he is on screen, from the second we hear his voice behind the giant wizard head, to him coming out and seeing him just be so like charismatic with them and like really convincing himself that he is the good guy and like everything he's planning is so good. Jeff knocked it out of the park. He was incredible. Like, I know he is the bad guy in the movie. Like, I know his intentions, and I was even sold. I was like, oh my God, he has the best intentions for Oz. Like, everything he's doing. I was like, no, bitch, you know the plot in the movie. Like, he is the bad guy. That's the whole point of it. But he even convinced me. It was such a standout performance. I loved it. I mean, Jonathan Bailey, unreal. He is just... talk about a man. It was incredible. I saw the funniest tweet, actually. Evan Ross Cass posted it on his story, and it said, it was like, I understand why they made it 2 movies now, because they could not have Jonathan Bailey singing Dancing Through Life and As Long As You're Mine in one movie. And I cannot agree more. If that man opened his mouth and did a whole nother musical number in that movie after Dancing Through Life, after the looks that he gives all these people when he meets them, like, I was sitting in that chair sweating over this man. He was... oh my God, he knocked it out of the park as Fiyero. Dancing Through Life is also my favorite song in the musical. I just love it. I think it's such a fun message, a fun point in the show. Like, like I said, it leads us into the Ostos Ballroom. It really sets the scene for that turning point. So without Fiyero and without that scene, we wouldn't have had that moment between the two of them. And the way that the choreography, the way that they used the library scene with Dancing Through Life, like, just, it was so perfectly done. And like, watching the videos of Jonathan Bailey doing the choreography in his dressing room for his other projects, like, the work that he put into it to get those steps down, it translates through on screen incredibly. I mean, Michelle Yeoh, Bowen Yang, like all of these actors and every single person in this movie, truly, they just, like I said, everyone took it so seriously. And I think the fact that everybody is such big fans of the show, and they knew the power that they hold being cast in a movie that has been so long awaited for. Like, people have been waiting for the Wicked movie for decades, and the fact that like they understood the assignment so well, it just shined through so incredibly. And I cannot stress to you enough, seeing this movie not in a movie theater is not an option. You need to see it in theaters. You need to see and like be immersed in this movie, because it is unbelievable. It was worth the wait. It was worth every single second. I cannot wait for part 2. Oh my God. Like, it's so crazy to me to think that it is finally here and I have seen it, and like everybody will have the opportunity to see it by the end of this week. Like, I know a lot of people are seeing it on today, Wednesday, when I'm seeing it for the second time. Like, that was the original early release date, and then they added Monday. So I think by like today and through Friday, like, a lot of people are going to be seeing it. When I posted that I was seeing it, a lot of my friends were like, oh my God, I'm seeing it Thursday. I cannot wait. So by this week, I think majority of people who are dying to see it will have seen it. And then the people who are just like casually going to see it or can't make it this week, obviously they'll see it when they can. But like, just take like, it's not even a hype thing. It exceeds every single expectation. And I can't. I literally, like, I don't even know what else. I just yapped about it for like 25 minutes. And I'm like, I don't even have the words to say. Clearly, I have the words, but just, it was worth every single minute, every second, every year that we waited for this movie was worth it. And now this next year, I'm like, how am I going to wait an entire calendar year to get Wicked Part 2? But knowing how good the first movie was and how worth the wait it was for this, I know that part 2 will be just as worth it. And I cannot wait. The countdown starts now, so I can't wait. Oh my God. Just go see this movie. Just go see this movie. If you had any reservations, any hesitations, anything that was holding you from being like, I don't know, not for me. I don't care if you don't like musicals. I don't care if you don't like The Wizard of Oz. I don't care if you haven't seen the stage play. I don't care if you don't even know what the movie is about. Go see it. You will be floored. You will be knocked off your feet. Oh my God. Not even to mention like all of the tie-ins to the 1939 film. And this is, again, not a spoiler. It happens literally in the first scene of the trailer. But like Wicked, if you don't know, Wicked starts when the Wicked Witch dies in The Wizard of Oz. So the first scene of Wicked, we see Dorothy and the Scarecrow, the Lion, and the Tin Man like carrying the broomstick down the Yellow Brick Road to the Emerald City to deliver it because the witch just died, which is the whole point, is to deliver the broomstick. And then we have Glinda who lands in Munchkinland to, deliver the good news. So within the first 2 seconds, you see Dorothy and the gang going down the Yellow Brick Road, which I was like, nope, I'm done. And I start crying. During the popular scene, Glinda picks up a pair of ruby red slippers and clicks them together 3 times and gives them to Elphaba. Like, they did so many fun things that just like tied in the original movie to this, and just like it was so good. Oh my God, when Fiero and Elphaba take the lion cub from Dr. Dillamond's class and go to let him free in the Enchanted Forest, they put him in the back of a basket and he pops out like Toto does on Mrs. Gulch's bike. Like, they just paid such close attention to detail and thought of every single way they could tie in the original movie and the books. And it made my heart so happy. And I will stop talking about it now, I promise. But like I said, if there's anything that I notice tomorrow, or today rather, when I see it, I will put it all in my newsletter this weekend. So I'm sure there'll be more Wicked talk to come. Subscribe to my newsletter. Again, it'll be linked down below. It's on my Substack. Just buy your tickets and go see this movie. It was unbelievable. I can't get over it. Moving on to our second to last segment of the show, it is time for our TV recap. I skipped it last week, but we are back this week, and I have some strong opinions. So first things first, we're recapping Real Housewives of New York, and this season, it has taken such a terribly boring turn. I'm kind of over it. I'm so tired of the only way that they can have a plot is them pranking each other. Like, if I wanted to watch people pranking each other, I would watch Punk'd. I would watch Impractical Jokers. Like, I don't need to see you guys pranking each other every single episode. And it appears that the only way that these girls can make an interesting plot is if they are playing pranks on each other to like try to pull one over on each other. I'm over it. It was funny when they did the cockroach joke with Uba and everybody, but then like, did we need to watch Uba and Sai throwing up for 4 minutes of the episode? Like, it's just like, there's nothing of substance, I feel like, this season. And I'm over it. The prank in question for this episode was the whole thing with Erin and Rebecca pranking everybody about her being pregnant. It's a funny joke, I guess, especially when like they're looking into like Scientology and like what Rebecca's history is there, which like, don't even get me started on that. Don't invite a Scientologist on the show if she's not going to talk about Scientology. And that's all I'm going to say there. But what really irks me about the pregnancy prank is the fact that Jessel and Uba have both expressed that they want to get pregnant relatively soon. And Uba's going through her health issues. Jessel's having these issues with Pavitt where he doesn't want to get pregnant. And the fact that you guys are using pregnancy as a joke, I don't think the girls took it personally, but like, that is just so distasteful. And it kind of opened my eye to be like, these girls aren't friends off camera. Like, they don't think about each other. They don't talk really off camera. Like, they are clearly doing this just for the show. And it just like knocked a level of authenticity off for me, which these girls, I already didn't have like a strong feeling that they were that close off camera. And I don't know if any of the girls really are off camera, but the other franchises and what I've seen, they can at least like keep the facade of them being friends off camera. But with the New York girls, I just feel like if they are not filming, they are not seeing each other. And if they are seeing each other, it's orchestrated and they're just doing it to like figure out a plot line and then like get on to filming. Like, it just, I don't know. I'm so over it. I'm going to continue watching. Like, I'm not going to take it out of my rotation, because honestly, and this is when I realized I was kind of over it. It's become my editing show. So like when I'm editing clips or editing the podcast, we'll put it on, and usually we would put something a little more like mindless on, but now like I don't care if I miss it. And like I go back and I read, I read a lot of newsletters and recap blogs and things like that to just like, if there's anything like I maybe didn't catch or miss or things like that. But like, even when I am paying attention, I'm like, I don't want to be paying attention. Like, I'm bored. And then the final thing on RHONY I'm going to talk about is just the fact, what is Brynn doing? The fact that Brynn was wearing a Move I'm Gay shirt and she is not part of the LGBTQ community, what are you thinking? Like, my problem with Brynn, and I loved Brynn season 1, my problem with her is that, like, I feel like she has been in her own bubble for most of her life, and she's been able to make these comments and do these things because, like, she's not doing anything targeted to anybody. Like, she's not saying anything to anybody. I mean, actually, never mind, because she did kind of, play into the, like, angry black woman narrative with Uba, but she is half black, so, like, as a white passing person of color, she uses that to her advantage a little too comfortably, and it just like raises the question for me of like, where does she stand morally? Like, as a straight woman, why are you wearing a t-shirt that says "Move I'm Gay"? Ally or not, you're not gay. Take the shirt off. Like, it's not for you. You know what I mean? It just, I don't know. And the way that she talks to Jenna and flirts with Jenna, if I was Jenna's fiance, I would be mad as hell. And she's not involved in the show that much, so we don't really know how she feels about it. But I can't imagine Jenna's fiance is just like okay with the way that Brynn talks to her and talks about her and flirts with her and is like all over her, because like, back off. Straight or not, it's weird the way that she talks about it and comes on to her, and like, I don't know, it's just rubbing me the wrong way this season, and I don't know, maybe it's just like this season as a whole, and I'm just like, I'm looking for something to be mad at because there's nothing to be mad at, because the season is just like lacking substance. Oh my god. Actually, speaking of things to be mad at, since we're talking about Wicked this episode, why was there a Rebecca Minkoff Wicked ad in the middle of the episode last week? That added absolutely nothing to the plot, and all it did was remind us that Rebecca Minkoff has a collab with Wicked, and Sai brought her daughter to shop it. Like, there was no substance there to add to the plot or to add to the show, and when I saw what they were doing, I was like, is this really what we're reducing it to? Like, is this what we have to do to try to make some type of like storyline or plot or relevancy? Like, it just feels like they're grasping for straws, and I'm kind of over it. I don't know. Like I said, I'm not watching Punk'd. I'm watching the housewives throw a drink at each other. Stop putting a fake cockroach in somebody's dessert. Like, this is not what you watch for housewives. Throw a drink. Call somebody a cunt. Do something more than putting a cockroach in a dessert and making a fake pregnancy around your friends who are trying to get pregnant and struggling to get pregnant. That is my take on RHONY right now. Like I said, I am going to keep watching it. I don't know if I'm going to keep recapping it because like I said, I'm like grasping for straws the same way they are grasping for a plot line. It's going to be like a come and go kind of thing. Like, if there's something to talk about, I'll talk about it. I don't know. But now, switching gears to a show that there is so much to talk about, you want to talk about a actual Housewives franchise, Real Housewives of Salt Lake City. These bitches are bringing it this season. Oh my god, I cannot get enough. First and foremost, we just need to address Lisa complaining about sitting in coach for a 47-minute flight. That is housewife behavior. That is how I want to see a housewife react to something, not putting a fake cockroach in somebody's dessert and thinking it's like a good plot line. Lisa Barlow throwing a fit over sitting in seat 17C on a 47-minute flight was the funniest thing I have seen on TV in weeks. I was obsessed. It was hilarious. I fucking loved it. And speaking of the 17C seat and the bitch who put her there, I am obsessed with Bronwyn. She is the perfect addition to this show, and whoever found her and whoever cast her, kudos to you, because she is incredible, and she is like adding even more than Monica could have added to another season. She is killing it. I fucking love her. I love that she has no problem putting somebody in their place. She approaches things in such an appropriate way, but also in a way that like she knows when she's right and she knows when she's wrong. And she has such a good way of approaching a situation and trying to have the upper hand. And I love it. I love her. I love what she's adding to the show. I think she is incredible. I will say, I don't think Todd knew what he was signing up for when he signed on to be a husband of. The way that he is reacting to the way that the housewives are acting, he's acting normal. He's acting the way a normal human being should react when two grown women are screaming at each other in a hot tub. But when you sign on to be a housewife husband, you don't act normal in those situations. You sit there, you sit quietly, and you let them do their thing. And the way that he was like, get them out. I don't want them in my house. Kick them out. Very normal and very warranted, because like the way that Lisa was attacking Bronwyn, unnecessary, but you can definitely tell that like he was not clear on what was going on when he was cast on this show. But that's neither here nor there. I still love Bronwyn. She is such a good addition to the show. You can clearly also tell that she really cares about her relationship with Lisa a lot. So it has to be so frustrating and upsetting to her when she's going to Lisa to talk to her and to try to like make amends and just be like, hey, this is what you did wrong. Maybe this is what I did wrong, but like two things can be true at the same time. And Lisa just like will not let up on the way she thinks and the way she's acting towards her. Like you can really tell, like I said, that Bronwyn does really care about their relationship. And it just seems like Lisa is like, it's my way or the highway. And don't get me wrong, I love Lisa Barlow. I stan Lisa Barlow to the day I die. They could never make me hate her. But you can definitely tell that like she's not giving Bronwyn the energy and the, what's the word? Like the grace that Bronwyn is willing to give to her, which has got to be frustrating for Bronwyn, and it clearly is because she's expressing it. But yeah, that's Salt Lake City. The mid-season trailer that just came out looked insane. Whoever set Meredith off, like I am dying to know what is going on that made Meredith Marks that mad. Also, what's going on with this recording device? Also, why the fuck is Whitney reaching out to Monica for any type of information after what happened last season? Like, they all said that they would not film with Monica again. So why is Whitney now reaching out to Monica to get like ammo for this season? It makes no sense to me. And I'm kind of over Whitney. I think I've said that before. If not here, I said in the newsletter, like I'm getting to an end of the road with Whitney where I just like, I'm kind of over it. Like she just irks me. I don't understand the way that she acts. I don't understand the things that she says. I think I'm getting to the end of the road with her. But that is Housewives. That is TV recap. That's all I have to say. I am loving, loving, loving Salt Lake City this season. It is phenomenal. And that brings us to the end of my episode, but I end every single episode with a yes and a mess of the week. A yes being something I am loving and a mess being something I am not loving. We always start things on a high note here, so let's kick it off with my yes. And my yes this week is an artist who I have been obsessed with lately. Her EP has been on repeat since I discovered it, and it is no other than Jay Stevens. I found her on TikTok a few weeks ago, and I've been listening to her EP. I posted it on Instagram a few weeks ago, so if you follow me there, you've seen me talk about her before. I cannot get enough of this new EP she put out. It's called Sellout. I think it's 6 or 7 tracks. It is so good. Every single track is incredible. I love she put out a music video for one of the songs. The visuals are so good. She's just so cool. She's also hilarious on Twitter. Like, I love an artist who isn't afraid, like I was kind of saying at the top of the show, like an artist who isn't afraid of just like internet culture and like talking about memes and making memes and being funny. Like, she's hilarious on Twitter. Her music is great. She is incredible. If you're looking to a new artist to add to your repertoire, I cannot recommend Jay Stevens enough. And moving on to my mess of the week, this is tying into the wicked of it all, and it is the fact that Cynthia Erivo is somehow the star of the Wicked movie and getting the shitty end of the broomstick when it comes to press. So somebody posted on Twitter today, and it was all of the daily news covers in London of all of the Wicked premiere press, and every single cover was just a photo of Ariana Grande, which is just so disheartening when you really boil it down and realize it is blatant racism, and it is just so infuriating, especially when these premieres were in Cynthia's homeland. Like, she posted the nicest caption about being back in London for this premiere and what it meant to her, and every single news cover is about just Ariana Grande. It is infuriating. And it actually, last week when I was editing my podcast clips, I was looking for clips of Ariana to put when I was talking about Ariana, and then clips of Cynthia when I was talking about Cynthia. And the way that I had to jump through hoops to find solo pictures and videos of Cynthia, some of them I couldn't even find a single clip of just Cynthia on the carpet. I had to use a photo, but I could find every angle, every step, every breath that Ariana Grande took was infuriating. So to see that it's continued, not just through social media and TikTok, these are like legitimate publications posting these articles and these cover stories, not featuring the star of the movie. Whether you want to feature Ariana Grande because she's Ariana Grande or not, she is not the star of the movie. Elphaba is the main character of Wicked. Point blank, period. I mean, they are both obviously the main characters, but like Elphaba is the hero arc and like the story in the movie. Why is Cynthia Erivo? I mean, we know why Cynthia Erivo isn't getting the press that Ariana Grande is, and it is just, it's really pissing me off, and it is so upsetting, and just goes to show how like evil and just like racist people can be. I can't. It really enrages me. And Cynthia Erivo did such a knockout job in this movie that I just want her to get every single piece of press, every accolade, every flower, every award, every single way that they could praise her for this role. She deserves it. And if they're not going to do it, I will. This is officially a Cynthia Erivo Stan podcast. It is too Erivo to handle. It's a work in progress, the name, but you get what I'm saying. That being said, we have made it to the end of the episode. Thank you guys so much for listening to this week's episode of Too Pop to Handle. If you're listening to us as a podcast and you liked what you heard, make sure you leave us a 5-star rating. Like I said, if anybody is watching or listening on Spotify, you can leave comments down below. So comment below. If you've seen the Wicked movie, let me know what you think because I am dying to talk to anybody about this movie. Comment down below if you are on Spotify. If you're on YouTube, same thing. Comment down below. If you are watching on YouTube, make sure you hit that like button. Give me a subscribe. Hit the bell. There's so many things to do on YouTube. You guys know the drill. Do them all. I say it every week. If everybody listening to this episode sends it to one friend, I will double in listeners. It is easy math. If you would like to get some more moments from the week that were just too pop to handle in between episodes, make sure you head over to my Substack. It will be linked down below and subscribe there because I have a lot of really fun content that I'm writing right now that I want to push out aside from just the podcast notes and the newsletter every week. I have just like fun. I've been like inspired to write lately, so I have a lot of really fun things in the works there. So make sure you're subscribed to that. Always make sure you're subscribed to me on social media. I am at 2pop2handle on all platforms. My personal is at Andrew Nucatola on all platforms. And I think I've covered everything. I think that is enough. So with that, I will catch you guys next week. Bye.